So today we are going to study about our constitution. Let us understand with an example. Suppose in your school there is a new admission. Now how does that child come to know about the rules and regulations of the schools? He's provided with a prospectus or the school diary which enlists all the rules and regulations that he has to follow, the school timings, the uniform, the disciplinary rules that he has to perform, or any fines and actions and the kind of punishments that could be imposed on him in case he breaks any rules. He becomes acquainted with the rules and regulations after going through them given in the diary. Similarly, if we say that how does one come to be aware of the rules and regulations of your country? How do we get to know what kind of governance system should be there? A presidential form of government, a parliament democracy should be there, or is there any form of dictatorship in there? What form of government should be there? How does one get to know? What are the roles and functions of the ministers, the president, the prime minister? What are the rights and duties of the citizens? What kind of relationship does the union government have with the state government? So how does one get to know about these? These all are given in a constitution. The constitution makers, they had the task of preparing the constitution of free India, wherein they had to write down all the rules and regulation as per to which the country was going to function after the Britishers left. They had to write down what kind of governance system they wanted in our country, what kind of roles, functions, powers and limitations will the president have, will the prime minister have, will the union ministers have, what kind of relationship will the state government have with the union government, what should be the roles and the responsibilities of the citizens, how are they going to empower the government while ensuring that it does not exploit the citizens, how are they going to ensure the betterment of the citizens, how are they going to empower the citizens with the rights. So this was all contained in our constitution. The constitution makers worked for years to frame such a constitution which will enlist all the rules and regulations as per to which the country will function, the government will run, and the citizens will know of their rights and duties and how the functioning of the country is going to happen. So what is a constitution? A constitution is that comprehensive document which contains the set of rules according to which the government of a country runs. The country runs. The citizens, follow the rules and regulations. A constitution could be a written one or an unwritten one. A written constitution, our constitution is a written constitution. It is also the lengthiest constitution, which entails all the rules and regulations, the powers, functions of the government, of the citizens, how the governance or the smooth functioning of the country will happen. We also have unwritten constitution in United Kingdom. So how do they come to be aware of their rules and regulation? Well, they have various sources to resort to know about the rules and regulations. While in the case of India, we have one particular document, the Constitution, where it enlists all the ideals and the principles that a country believes in, like a secular state that it is a republic, it is democratic, it is a socialist country. So all the underlying principles are given, the system of governance is given, what are going to be the powers of the government, how the ministers are going to function, what are going to be the rights and duties of the citizens are given. Everything is entailed in the constitution. What is the significance of a constitution? Why do we need it at the first place? Because it not just makes one aware of the powers and functions and the roles of the government and the citizens, but it also mentions the limitations of it, so as to ensure that at no point the government goes on to exploit the people or misuse its power. What if the government in power decides to take all the power in its hand and assumes dictatorial powers? No, that cannot happen, because the constitution ensures that the government works in the interests of the people, for the betterment of the people, and does not assume all the powers in its own hands and misuses it and exploits the people. That cannot happen because the constitution clearly limits the powers of everyone. No government, no individual can act beyond the laws which are given in the constitution. It is the supreme law. Everyone has to abide by the constitution. Everyone is bound by the laws which are given in the constitution. That is what ensures the proper functioning of the system, that nobody goes beyond the laws and it works for the betterment of the society. The citizens will follow the rules given, they'll be aware of their rights, they will be performing their duties. The government will be aware of the powers to function well for the betterment of the society, and yet at the same time be also aware of its limitations. It regulates, the constitution regulates what is going to be the position and power of the three organs of the government. The legislature, it will be the law-making body. It cannot interfere with the judicial system. The executive, it will be executing the laws. It does not have the power to make the laws. And the judiciary, it has to ensure that the judicial system works fine, that there is impartial working of the institutions, that justice is delivered to everyone. It tells the powers and the position of the state governments, the states, where is their position, about the union government, how much power it holds, the division of power between the union and the state government. The constitution is the one that acts as a link between the government and the citizens. The constitution binds them together by making the government aware how it has to work for the betterment of the people, by empowering the citizens, that if it is in case that our country is like a democratic setup, how they have the powers in their hand to elect their own leader. So it acts as a link between the government and the governed. It protects the interest of the citizens. How? By restraining the government, putting some limitations also on everyone from taking arbitrary decisions, so that it does not make any, authoritative decisions. It has to follow the laws given in the constitution. It has to work within certain limitations so that it does not at any point misuses its power. So this is all to ensure the smooth governance for the welfare of the citizens. So the constitution ensures that everyone is, the government, the citizens, they are all aware of their rules, responsibilities, their powers, but also the limitations, which ensures that they only work for the betterment of the country and do not harm anyone. Constituent Assembly. Now, how did this constitution come into being? How did it come? Here, we see that Cabinet Mission of 1946 that came to India with the goal of setting up of self-rule in India, it suggested that a Constituent Assembly should be formed which will work for the framing or drafting of the Indian Constitution. So Cabinet Mission, it suggested, form a Constituent Assembly which will work on the drafting of the Constitution of Free India. So that is how the Constituent Assembly was formed to frame the Constitution. Now Cabinet Mission proposed the Constituent Assembly to be formed. A Constituent Assembly was formed. Now how many members was it supposed to have? We see that initially it had 389 members, of which these 292 members were the elected members from the Provincial Legislative Assembly. 93 were the nominated members, which came from the princely states. What were the princely states? There were still some states in India that were ruled by the native local rulers, Indian rulers only, which had good terms with the Britishers, so they were allowed to rule. So 93 nominated members came from the princely states, and 4 came from the Chief Commissioner provinces, Delhi, Ajmer, Coorg, and the British Balochistan region. So we see that every region found its representation, that from every region there will be a representative in the Constituent Assembly for the framing of the Indian Constitution. So that is how these all members came to comprise and became a total of 389 members. So although initially the Constituent Assembly was supposed to have 389 members, eventually its numbers was reduced to 299. Now how come that happened? We see that 90 members of the Muslim League decided to boycott, or say decided to not be part of the constitution making of India. Now, point to be noted here, we are talking about members of the Muslim League, not 90 Muslims, but 90 members of the Muslim League decided to not be a part of the constitution making of India. Now, why so? Muslim League, they had always been demanding for a separate nation, Pakistan. They were not in favor of being a part of this country, India. They wanted a separate nation for the provinces. So they said that we are not going to be a part of the constitution making of India. We will be preparing the constitution of our own separate nation, Pakistan. So they decided to boycott the process of making constitution of India. So that is why they boycott this Constituent Assembly, and henceforth the number is reduced to 299 members. Talking about the timeline of the Constituent Assembly, how things progressed till the formation of the Constitution. So we see in July, the Cabinet Mission comes, suggests form a Constituent Assembly that will be performing the task of framing the Constitution of India. Then a Constituent Assembly is formed. Then on 9 December 1946, the first sitting of the Constituent Assembly happens. All its members gather. The first sitting happened. This is headed by Sachidanand Sinha. Then on its next meeting on 11th December 1946, 2 days after that, they decide to have an elected head, the president of this Constituent Assembly. Rajendra Prasad is elected as the president of the Constituent Assembly for its proper systematic functioning. Then eventually we see that many subsessions happen wherein the process goes on of framing the constitution. There are various committees formed which will go through the process of dividing the it into several parts and then framing the constitution. Finally, the constitution is prepared, drafted, and finally it is signed or say legally passed and adopted on 26 November 1949. So it began in 1946, but 3 years later, after going through several readings and all the process, the Constitution of India is legally passed or say signed or adopted on 26 November 1949. But then again, it is on 26 January 1950 that it was decided that the Constitution would be enforced or implemented. So although we see that it was passed and signed on 26 November 1949, they waited till 26 January to enforce or to implement the Constitution. We will be studying about the reason. Why did they wait for so long? What was the historical reason behind it? Talking about the composition of the Constituent Assembly, we see that Constituent Assembly did not only have representations from the different regions of the country, it also had representations from diverse communities. Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, Anglo-Indians, Parsis, different communities, they were also a part of the constitution making. They also had their opinions voiced in the constitution making of our country. You see, Muslims like Zafar Imam was a part of it. In Sikhs, Sardar Hukum Singh, Anglo-Indian Frank Anthony, Indian Christians, Joseph D'Souza, Parsis like H.P. Modi. So we see that diverse communities were very much a part of the process of the constitution making of India, thus reflecting how national in character was the process of the constitution making of India. Now next, as you can see in the picture, is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of Free India. We see that he proposed the Objectives Resolution. Now what was this Objectives Resolution? When the process of the Constituent Assembly began of framing the Constitution on 9 December 1946, on 11th we see that Rajendra Prasad was chosen as the President. On 13 December, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru proposed the Objectives Resolution. Objectives means goals, resolution, a firm decision. So he says that we should have certain resolutions or ideals or principles reflected in our constitution which should clearly reflect the aspirations of the freedom fighters. Like the very basic ideals for which the freedom struggle was fought, it should be clearly reflected in our constitution. Like our constitution should ensure that our country is a republic state. Republic, that it should have an elected head. Our country should have not just political democracy, but also social and economic democracy should also be ensured to it. Fundamental rights should be granted to people. There should be provisions to ensure that there is upliftment and development of the minorities happening, of the backward classes and scheduled classes happening. So this was the objectives resolution proposed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to ensure that the ideals and the principles that the freedom fighters believed in should be enshrined in our constitution. So he proposed it on 13 December 1946, which was passed on January 22, 1947. Then talking about B.R. Ambedkar. B.R. Ambedkar, he was one of the chief architects of the Indian Constitution. He was also the chairman of the drafting committee. We see that the Constituent Assembly formed many committees for the process of framing the Constitution. The most important was the drafting committee, which had the task of finally drafting the final Constitution that will be enforced. So its chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. B.R. Ambedkar was a renowned politician, economist. He was also a social reformer. He himself belonged to a lower caste, so he was well aware of the discriminations that the lower caste had to go through. So he worked relentlessly for the upliftment of the backward classes, the untouchables. He also worked for improving the status of women in the country. He ensured that reservations should be included in the constitution for the improvement of the conditions of these reserved classes, the backward classes, the deprived classes, sections of the society. Besides that, we see that he also contributed by introducing the right to constitutional remedies, which ensures that no citizen is deprived of his fundamental right. The idea of directive principles was also introduced by him that provides guidelines to the government how it should be functioning. So he played a very crucial role in the framing of the Constitution, and he served as the most important role of the chairman of the drafting committee of the Indian Constitution. Then talking about our Constitution, important points about it. So we see that Constitution, with the framing of the Constituent Assembly, began the process of framing the Constitution. It started in 1946 and it was completed in 1949. So it almost took 3 years. It took 2 years, 11 months and 17 days precisely to complete the entire process of framing the Indian Constitution. It was legally passed on 26 November 1949. At the time when the Constitution was passed, it had 395 articles and 8 schedules. At present, after going through many amendments and changes, it has 448 articles and 12 schedules. We see that it was passed on 26 November, but it was enforced on 26 January 1950, which is designated as the Republic Day. So now we are going to study as to why, even after being passed on 26 November, it waited for 2 months, it waited for 26 January to enforce the Constitution. The historical significance of the date January 26. The Constitution, though having been completed and legally passed on 26 November 1949, had to wait till 26 January 1950 to be enforced because of the historical significance of the date January 26. We are aware that the Indian National Congress played a very crucial role as a national organization in the freedom struggle of India. It used to hold its annual sessions in December every year, having their own objectives and resolution. So we see in 1929, the Indian National Congress had its Lahore session, where it was decided to pass the resolution of Poorna Swaraj, that we are going to attain Poorna Swaraj or complete independence in 1929 session. And we are going to celebrate 26 January as an Independence Day. So it was decided in the Lahore session of 1929.
So they began celebrating, from that year onwards, they began celebrating January 26 as the Independence Day until 1947. In 1947, as we are aware, India got its freedom on 15th August, which became the Independence Day. So it was thought that what should be done with January 26, which holds so close to our heart and which is so historically important a date. So it was finally decided, after the constitution was signed on 26 November, that it will be enforced on 26 January 1950, and henceforth it will be designated as the Republic Day. So we see that because of the Lahore session of 1929, where they gave the call for the Purna Swaraj and began celebrating 26 January as the Independence Day until 1947, that is why January 26th was chosen as the date for the enforcement of the Constitution, and it was thereby designated as the Republic Day. So I hope this chapter is clear to you. What is a constitution? That document which contains all the set of rules and regulations as per to which the government of a country functions. Why is it significant? Because it clearly defines the powers and functions and the limitations of the government and the powers and rights of the duties of the citizens, and acts as a link between the two. It prevents the government from misusing its power and work for the welfare of the people. So that is why it is significant. Then we studied how Cabinet Mission came to India in July 1946, suggested a Constituent Assembly to be formed to frame the Constitution of India. How initially there were 389 members in the Constituent Assembly, reduced to 299 with the boycott of the 90 members from the Muslim League. Then we also studied, we saw that how the Constituent Assembly was national in character, having representations from different diverse communities. We also saw Jawaharlal Nehru proposing the objectives resolution, B.R. Ambedkar making the contribution as the chairman of the drafting committee, and then how it took 3 years to complete the entire process of framing the Constitution, wherein the Constitution was finally legally passed on 26 November 1949, and it was enforced on or implemented on 26 January 1950 due to the historical significance of the January 26. What was the significance? At the Lahore session of 1929, the Indian National Congress gave the call for Purna Swaraj and started celebrating January 26 as the Independence Day until 1947, after which it was 15th August was declared as the Independence Day, and 26th January was chosen as the date for the enforcement of the Constitution, and henceforth designated as the Republic Day. So this is how we come to know about the framing of our Constitution. In our next chapter, we'll be studying about the features of our Constitution.